Tom Vasel's top 100 games of all time. Some say that Tom is like a giant among men. Others say he's a little obsessed.
Yeah! I don't even have a top 10.
Tom Vasel's top 100 games of all time.
Hey guys, welcome to the very end of the top 100. There's no super funny video here, guys. There's not a lot that we're not gonna show you another clip of like in the intro. But I just wanted to talk to you all, if I can talk to you over the roar of the Air Force planes going in the background, about some of the statistics and also some of my personal thoughts on the top 100 list. First of all, thanks so much for watching so far. Some of these I put together and I was thinking about it as I put them, like, this is 23 minutes long. I said it's the same length as a sitcom. I don't think that we're as interesting as a sitcom for that same period of time. Then I watched a sitcom and then I remembered that maybe they're not so interesting after all. But, so maybe we didn't have that high of a bar to beat. But let's talk about some of the things. First of all, let's talk about turnover on the lists. On Melody's list from last year to this year, there was 33 new games. And that's to be expected. I think in Melody's case, you know, she's 12, she's about to turn 13, and I think as these years go by, you're going to see more variation in her list than anyone else's. In the People's Choice Top 100, there were 21 new games. Let me tell you what those games are. Lords of Waterdeep, Eclipse, King of Tokyo, Descent 2.0, Mage Knight board game, Elder Sign, Castles of Burgundy, Flashpoint Fire Rescue, Risk Legacy, Star Trek Fleet Captains, Sentinels of the Multiverse, Blood Bowl Team Manager, the card game, Eminent Domain, Airlines Europe, Castle Panic, Aura and Labora, Belfort, Zombicide, Suro, Cards Against Humanity, Rex Final Days of an Empire. So those were your new games, and you had less than Melody's, and I think as the years go by with People's Choice, since this was only the second year, I think we'll see maybe less of a turnover, but maybe not. It's going to be interesting to see what games have staying power on this list, or which games are games that people are excited about right here and right now. More on that in a minute. On my list, there was only 20 new games. Mage Wars, 1989, War of Indines, Libertalia, Sentinels of the Multiverse, King of Tokyo, Flash Duel, Dragon's Gold, Flashpoint Fire Rescue, Core Worlds, Conquest of the Planet Earth, First and Goal, Risk Legacy, Fortress America, Rolling Freight, Mage Knight board game, Mission Red Planet, Rex, Final Days of an Empire, Telestrations, and Seasons. And actually 3 or 4 of those near the end have been on the top 100 before. Those were only ones that were different from last year. Now, I went through and looked at games that were on my list all 8 years, and 34. That's not a bad retaining rate there, where 1/3 of my games have lasted in my top 100 since 2005. And in fact, when I look at my top 10, 5 of them have been on the list all 8 years. That would be Cosmic Encounter, which started off as number 2, now is number 1. Heroescape, which started off at 34 and is now number 3. Ticket to Ride, which started off at 4 and is now 6. Memoir 44, which started off as 6 and is now 8. And Duel of Ages, which started off at 1 and is now 9. So I'm glad that there's staying power in a lot of my favorite games. And I try not to look at previous year's lists as I make these. I actually keep some really detailed things here. I'll keep track of where they land. I usually go up to my top 150 each year, if sometimes, and also, you know, I keep a list to see where they bounce around, and there's quite a few games that have been on the list in various points in time over the years. What about games that were on my list, Melody's list, and the People's Choice Awards? There was 18 crossover hits, and I think those 18 games should be games that you kind of take a look at, because they're games that obviously very popular games. They're games that I like a lot, and they're also games that Melody likes a lot, and I think that means the crossover appeal of these games is high. And so I'm going to try to put this list up somewhere where you guys can take a look at these. Maybe somebody wants me to email to them and they can mess with it and do stats. But enough about stats. Let me address a few things. The first thing I like to talk about is, first of all, I really appreciate you guys watching these. But a few people have made comments, and I thought I would address a few of them. The first one is, Why do I think I'm so great that I must put my top 100 on the list for all of you to see and listen to? And why am I so egotistical to do so? Well, I suppose there's some kind of ego involved in anyone telling anybody about anything they like, because if you were really humble, you would never give your opinion to anybody about anything unless you thought it was a matter of life and death. And honestly, no matter how much I like my games, they're certainly not a matter of life and death. I do it for a couple reasons. One, I do it because it's fun for me to make these videos. I love talking about games that I love. I know sometimes we get a kick out of seeing people trash games, and I've had fun, I'll admit, trashing games in the past, but I get the most excitement out of talking about games that I am thrilled about. When I was a salesman, I liked selling things that I could really say, this is something that I really think is good. This is something that's great, and that's enthusiastic. So that's the top 100, you know, the list thing. And so I don't think I'm better than anybody else, but I will say that since I've played so many games, I think that my experience will help some people to see where, you know, I say a lot of games are good. Well, maybe they want to know which ones I think are the best of the best. Does that mean that my opinion's worth more than anyone else's? No, no one's opinion's worth more than anyone else's. Well, my wife's is. But, so that's that. So watch them or don't watch them. I don't care. I just like to give people reference point. And also it's neat for me to see how my tastes have changed over the years. So I do these lists for me, and it's probably interesting to you, so that it gives you a better idea from me as a reviewer, since I review so many games, where I'm coming from and what I really like and don't like. Another thing that people ask me, or I've heard it talked about, was Melody, my daughter, her top 100 list. And people say, you know, hers isn't nearly as interesting as yours. In fact, I used to mix my top 100 with Melody's top 100 to force people to watch them, because because people are like, I don't want to see your daughter's top 100 list. I said, really? Well, I think you should. And folks, I really think that Melody's top 100 list is the most important list of all of them, because I think what you're watching is you're watching someone going to go through growing up, and you watch how their games taste change. Now, granted, she's not probably an ordinary 12-year-old at this point in time. I was playing card games with her when I was 3, but of all my kids, she is by far the gamer most kid. You'll see my funniest daughter, Amy, with, you know, doing the top 10 things, and she's really funny. But we have to really push her to play games, and she'll play them with us sometimes, but not all the time. And my other kids, they enjoy playing games, but Melody loves it. And I think that I'm certain of the fact that in 10 years, when my 22-year-old daughter is doing it and her 46-year-old dad is doing her top 100s, I'm pretty sure that hers are going to have double the views of mine. So, you know what? She's my daughter. She wants to do it. She loves doing it. And I'm going to give her this opportunity. And if it's not interesting for you, what can I say? Don't watch them. I want to take a moment and talk about my daughter, Melody. Now, I by no means think that Melody is perfect. How could I think so? I'm her father. But I am so pleased that she has chosen to join me in my gaming hobby. I never want to make my kids play the same hobbies that I have. My father didn't make me, he got me interested in his hobbies, but never, you know, forced them upon me. And I want to be the same with my kids. They can like games. And in fact, my other daughters, none of them have shown where they love games at this point in time. Amy, the funny blonde hair one you see all the time in the videos, you know, she's funny and she likes to make jokes and she loves being on the videos, but, you know, she'll play games with me once in a while, but not all the time. But Melody does. And a lot of people, her videos are viewed the least out of all my videos. And I understand that, because some of you look at it and say, I'm not interested in what a kid thinks. Other people are like, why would you even put her videos up on the internet? Well, for a couple reasons. One is because I want to help her. She's growing. There's going to come a point where she'll take over my position, hopefully someday on the Dice Tower. Or even if not, it's a good public forum. It's good for her. But two, there's a lot of people out there with kids or who have people Melody's age, and they'll be able to look at what she likes, and that will give a much better aspect than anything that I can ever say. And three, I really believe that her lists are the most important lists of anybody's, of all three, because as the years go by, you're going to be able to look at her list and watch as she grows as both a person and as a gamer, and see how things change and go through the time. For me, I got some games on my list that you'll be saying, oh, you'll be talking about that game in 10 years. Probably. But for Melody, will that be the same case? We haven't seen this before really on the internet, where we watch the kids' likes and dislikes as they grow up. And I think it's an interesting thing, and I think there will come a point where her lists will have double the views of mine. So I'm excited about that. Now let me say one thing here that I feel very strongly about. On my show, you'll see that me and Z, when we did the People's Choice Top 100, we said, well, how can this game be on there? And for the most part, we were really joking. I mean, there's games we don't like or like, whatever. They're on the top 100 list. And on my show, on my audio show, I'll kid Eric, I'll kid Sam. You know, we like to kid back and forth. But the simple truth of the matter comes is that if you like a game that I don't like, I don't care. I'm glad that you are playing a game. I say this because a lot of people look at my list and they'll look at there and say, how can you have apples to apples on your list? How can you have faces? How comes you don't have such and such a game on your list? You know, if you don't have this game on your list, then there's something wrong with you. And to those people, I say very politely to get off your high horse and forget and realize that this hobby isn't about you. Now, you've made it clear that the hobby's not about me, and that's fine. It shouldn't be. I give my top 100 list so that you guys can enjoy it or sit there and argue. And I don't mind if we argue back and forth. But I'll tell you what really irritates me is when someone gets up there and goes, how can you have a party game on your list and skip out on such austere Euro games or great war games? You know, the fact is this. If there's a party game that I play, and when we're done playing it, everyone is rolling on the floor laughing, and we had a great time, and we'll talk about that game many, many years in the future, and we play this game often, then that game deserves to be in my top 100 because it's a game that I'm having fun. And fun and enjoyment is what matters. This isn't a top 100 pieces of work of art where people sit around the table and silently, oh, what should I do? How can we solve this puzzle? Now look, those games are great and you may enjoy those and that is fine. But you cannot disqualify my list because there's party games on it. Just like if someone else makes a list and puts LCR or Monopoly or Munchkin on it, I cannot say their list is garbage. I will disagree with it and I might call it garbage in good fun. But in the reality is they can pick any games they want. See, we have to realize as gamers that gaming doesn't revolve around what we like. And I love how people call me an Ameritrasher because they only look at my top 10 or 20. They ignore the fact that on my top 100 list, I have Airlines and Pillars of the Earth and Agricola and Le Havre. And I have Euro games on my list and I like those. But people only put, some people only look at everything through the lens of what they like. So if they like war games or train games or Euro games or Ameritrash or collectible card games or whatever, they'll look at something else and say, how can you like this? I don't understand how anyone would want to play a game for 8 hours. I can't believe anyone would want to play a game that light. I can't understand how anyone would want to play a game that thinky. It doesn't matter. We're having fun. And maybe you love a certain genre of games and everyone in your group likes that same genre and everyone that you know likes that same genre and everyone on your forum that you frequent on seems to be with you. That does not necessarily mean that's what the whole opinion of the world is. So when you look at something, oh, this game's on it, that disqualifies the whole list. If you're kind of joking and having fun, I will accept that. I'll joke right back at you and say, how could you not put Cosmic Encounter in your top 100, you cretin? But the moment it gets serious and the moment we look down on our nose, what we are doing at that point in time is we are discouraging new people from joining the hobby. And I will say shame on you for doing such a thing. Because the whole purpose of the Dice Tower is to encourage people to join the hobby. And I'm probably going to trash games that you love. And that's fine, and I apologize for it. And if you want to disagree with me, bring it. Show me why you like those games. And make videos of your own. I'll put them on my channel if you want, saying how great those games are, because then people will play those games. Remember, it's about the game. It is never about the person. So if you like LCR, I hate it. I think it's a terrible, rotten, garbage game. But if you like it, that doesn't make you a bad person at all. I love games, and that is all this top 100 list is about. And if you don't like that, and if you get irritated with me for making this list, I apologize. But I hope that some of you feel that and thrilled. Make your own top 100 list. Make your own top 5 list. You know, it doesn't have to be 100. I picked 100 because that's what we did a while ago. But I have so much fun doing this, and I'm going to do it next year and the year after that. And we'll see how it changes because it's so much fun for me. All right, this is getting long, so I'm almost done. But I wanted to show you guys one more thing here. All right, first of all, look at this. 3,000. That's about how many games I played, give or take 50 or so, I don't know. Okay, on this list, I can have 100, which reduces, as the math teachers so wonderfully tell us, to 1 over 30. So let's take a look at those numbers. Let's say I play 30 games, 30 random games. Now let's say I don't like 15 of those games. Now that's probably not true. I probably like a few more games than I don't like. But let's say that 15 games that I don't like, and those range from one game that I think is horrifyingly bad all the way up to some games that I'm like, I don't want to play those anymore. So that leaves me with 15 really good games. Let's say of those 15 really good games, 5 of them I like, 5 of them I really like, and 5 of them I think are really good. So that leaves me 5 left over. Okay? However, of those 5 that are left over, I can only put one of those in the top 100. So when people say, you didn't put this game in the top 100, but I thought you liked it. Well, no kidding. Of the 3,000 games I'd played, I probably have said I really like this game about 1,000. And games that I said I really like have probably been 500 of those. But only 100 can make the top 10 list. So that is why games like Eclipse, which a lot of people, where's that in your top 100? Yeah, probably made the top 150. I like it a lot. It just didn't make the top 100. So what? No knock on Eclipse. It's still a great game. Other games that I look at my shelf, and I have 400 games here about in my collection that I keep, and I add new games. And so I'm looking at some of the games on my walls here. Tobago, Atlantis Rising, Empires of the Void, Shadowhunters, Cat and Fish, Survive, The Legend of Drizzt, let's see, other games. K-List is on my shelf. Let's see, there's all sorts of games that I have here. Capital Offensive, games that I really enjoy a lot. So that I'm going to keep my collection just to make my top 100. And every year, this top 100 is going to get smaller and smaller and smaller because the number of games I played is vaster and vaster. That's it. Okay, you guys are probably sick and tired of hearing me talk at this point. So let me say this. One last thing. We really appreciate you guys watching the Top 100. It is a ton of fun to put together. And I hope to see some of you at BGGCon next week. Do take some time, though. The Dice Tower Network, there's a ton of great podcasts. Dice Tower News, lots of great gaming news. Dice Tower videos and reviews. And there's all sorts of things that you can watch. But take the Dice Tower Network for a moment and set it aside. And I want you to seriously consider getting involved with the Jack Vasel Memorial Fund. Okay, 2 years ago when I did this top 100 list, I dedicated it to my son. He was still alive at that point in time, and he was fighting, and we were very excited about it, that he was getting better. And he died in January 2011, and we started the Jack Vasel Memorial Fund. And his birthday is in 1 week. I'll actually be at Board Game Geek Con for that. And we have an auction going on BoardGameGeek.com right now. I mean, we're talking a mega auction. Companies have come in and donated all kinds of awesome stuff. And you can donate to this auction too. And you can also go and bid on it. And so I really wanted to encourage you to do that. It just thrills me to see how everyone's involved with that. So, you know, like I said all the time, these games, they bring us apart, they drive us, sometimes they drive us away from each other, but this, I hope, is something where we can come together and give to this charity something that helps gamers in their time of need. You can find more information about this from a link on our website at dicetower.com or at the charity's website, jackvasel.org. Guys, we're done with the top 100 for another year. I'm so glad. We'll see you next time.
Some say that Tom is like a giant among men. Others say he's a little obsessed.
I don't even have a top 10.
Tom Vasel's top 100 games of all time.
See you